Justices have just issued their opinion on a case involving red flag gun laws. In an 8-1 decision here, the justice is ruling when an individual has been found by a court to pose a credible threat to the physical safety of another, that individual may be temporarily disarmed, consistent with the Second Amendment. Our Tom Dempsey joining us live once again on this breaking news. Tom.
Hey, Natasha. Yeah, this is definitely one of the more notable cases. This is United States versus Rahimi. Like you said, a vote of 8-1. So a big vote here in support of upholding this federal statute, which temporarily bans someone who has received a restraining order related to domestic violence from owning a gun. The whole federal statute in place to protect people and protect the safety of people there. I want to read you some of the comments here that are part of this opinion from the Supreme Court. Quote, these current gun laws confirm what common sense suggests. When an individual poses a clear threat of physical violence to another, the threatening individual may be disarmed. Again, that was part of the opinion, 8-1, voting to uphold this federal statute. Clarence Thomas, the lone Supreme Court justice who dissented. So again, this was an interesting case revolving around the domestic violence restraining orders and whether or not someone with a restraining order against them should be able to have or own a gun. The Supreme Court voting today that they should not, that the federal statute banning those people from having guns should stay in place. So again, interesting timing with this case, Natasha, because just last week we had another interesting gun case where the Supreme Court issued an opinion getting rid of this federal law, voting against striking down a federal law that banned bump stocks from being used that former President Donald Trump put into place after that very tragic shooting that happened in Las Vegas that killed dozens of people back in 2017, I believe. So again, the timing of this also revolving around the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. But the vote again from the Supreme Court, 8-1, to uphold this federal statute temporarily banning people with restraining orders against them in domestic violence cases from owning guns. Another very big update to pass along, though, Natasha. We were telling our viewers about all the notable cases we are following, the notable cases where opinions still haven't come down. The immunity case against former President Donald Trump, the Idaho abortion ban case, that United States versus Rahimi case, that restraining order and guns case, the last opinion to come down today. So it will be another few days of waiting. Next Wednesday is the next day we are expecting the Supreme Court to issue decisions. So some very big cases still hanging in the balance. The immunity case and that Idaho state abortion ban will not be coming down today. Again, will not be coming down today. The next possible date will be Wednesday, Natasha.
Yeah, okay, quick question for you, Tom. That's interesting. So nothing on immunity today. We are seeing this gun ruling that we've been waiting for and watching, which is really interesting. And it is coming on the heels, to your point, of the bump stock ruling. One of my friends was actually in the crowd in Vegas that day. She survived, but it was incredible. She said the way that the bump stock really allowed the bullets to just rain down on that crowd. And I know so many people were also watching for this gun ruling today. It really seems to focus on domestic abusers in particular. Is that right, Tom? The idea that if there is a restraining order against them, they should not have access to firearms, and that does not violate the Second Amendment. This was a large ruling. It really seems like there was almost unanimous consensus here, Tom.
Yeah, 8-1. It's not very common we see an 8-1 vote on the Supreme Court, especially when we get down to, the voting blocks and the conservative justices versus the liberal justices. Again, an 8-1 vote today. And, this is a federal statute, been in place for years, all with the intention of protecting people who may know someone who's been issued a restraining order, like you said, related to domestic violence abusers, people who've been accused of domestic violence and found to be a credible threat by a court. With this decision today by the Supreme Court, if someone is found by a court to be a credible threat, they cannot own or possess a gun. So again, an 8-1 vote, one of the more rather notable cases we are following. But again, we're going to be waiting a few more days for the Trump immunity case to come down and that Idaho state abortion ban case.
Okay. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.